Ethan Grant was no stranger to the small-town life. A mechanic by trade, he spent his days fixing everything from rusted-out pickup trucks to malfunctioning space engines. Pine Ridge, a sleepy town nestled on the edge of a vast desert, wasn't the place for adventure. But that all changed one evening when a strange object fell from the sky. It was a quiet Thursday night when the crash happened. A streak of light pierced the sky, flashing brightly against the fading orange of sunset. It was too fast and too large to be a meteor, and as it hurtled toward the earth, Ethan's instincts told him something was wrong. His curiosity piqued. Ethan jumped into his old truck and drove toward the clearing at the edge of town where the object had crashed. As he reached the site, he saw a fiery wreckage in the distance, a strange shape half buried in the sand. He parked his truck a little ways off and jogged toward the crash site. When he arrived, he found the wreckage of what could only be described as a spacecraft, a sleek, metallic vessel with glowing lines running along its surface. Smoke still billowed from the hull, and the unmistakable sound of mechanical whirring filled the air. But what caught his attention was the figure lying near the wreck. A woman, no, an alien, was sprawled out on the ground, her clothing torn, her body battered from the crash. Ethan's heart raced as he approached her cautiously. Her skin was an ethereal shade of pale violet, with iridescent scales that shimmered faintly in the light. Her long hair was dark, with hints of silver, and her eyes like large luminescent orbs, flickered open as he knelt beside her. "Hey," Ethan said, his voice softer than he intended. "You okay?" The woman blinked a few times, her breath shallow. She was in pain, but still alive. "Help me," she gasped, her voice smooth yet foreign, unlike anything he had ever heard before. Without thinking, Ethan pulled her into his arms, noticing how frail she felt against his chest. She was covered in blood, some of it, no doubt, from the crash. She winced as he moved her carefully, and he realized that the spacecraft she had been piloting was in no condition to be flown again. Still, he had to get her somewhere safe. "I'm going to get you back to my place," he said, more to himself than to her. "Stay with me. Don't pass out on me." With the strength he didn't know he had, Ethan managed to carry her to his truck and drove back to his garage. Once there, he laid her gently on the workbench, dusting off the old tools and other mechanical parts to make room. She was alien, definitely not from any known world he had ever heard of, but her life was just as precious as anyone else's. Ethan worked through the night, stitching up the woman's wounds as best as he could. His mind raced with questions. Who was she? Why had she crashed here? And how had she ended up alone on a planet that had little to offer? When the woman regained consciousness the next morning, her eyes locked with his. "I'm sorry," she said weakly, her voice almost melodic. "My name is Princess Lyra. I come from the planet Zorith." Ethan froze. Princess? He had just saved a princess? He had heard of alien royalty in stories, but this was real. "Zorith?" he repeated, trying to wrap his head around it. "What happened? Why are you here?" Lyra sat up, wincing slightly as she touched her side. "My people, they don't understand me," she said, her voice thick with frustration. "I've been trying to escape from their control for years. But the rebellion, it failed. My ship was damaged during the attack, and I ended up here." Ethan frowned. "You're a fugitive? A princess on the run," she muttered bitterly. "Yes, I've been fighting for freedom for so long, but I never thought I'd end up like this. A wreck on some backwater planet." Ethan didn't know what to say. He had fixed enough engines to know when something wasn't right, and the damage to Lyra's ship was severe. He wasn't sure if it could even be repaired, but he would try. "You need a ship, and I need a mechanic," Lyra said, catching him off guard. She gave him a weak but determined smile. "I can help you fix this ship, and you can help me escape." The deal seemed absurd. Yet, Ethan couldn't deny the spark of something in him, the feeling that this was more than just a chance encounter. This was something bigger. He had seen the despair in her eyes, and something in him refused to let her down. He agreed despite the risks. For the next few days, Ethan worked tirelessly, gathering the necessary materials to fix her ship. Lyra, though weak, helped as much as she could, using her alien technology knowledge to guide him. It wasn't easy. Many of the parts were beyond his expertise, and the ship's complex systems made it hard to know where to start. But Ethan's mechanical mind, combined with Lyra's guidance, allowed them to make progress. As they worked, they grew closer. Lyra revealed more about her homeworld, the oppressive regime, and the rebellion she had tried to lead. She spoke of the hardships she had endured, the enemies who had once been her allies, and the people who had betrayed her. Ethan, in turn, shared his own story, his quiet life in Pine Ridge, his dreams of something greater than fixing broken engines, and his simple belief in helping those who couldn't help themselves. It was on the third day, with the ship's engine humming to life for the first time in weeks, that everything changed. The sound of an approaching ship cut through the desert air. Lyra's face went pale, and she immediately recognized the craft. "They've found me," she whispered. "I'll never be free." Ethan stood up, his heart pounding. "We can't let them take you." But Lyra shook her head. "You don't understand. I've tried to run before. My people won't let me go. If we don't escape now, they'll take me back, and you'll be in danger." As the enemy ship landed nearby, Lyra made a decision. "Go. I'll hold them off. I'll make sure you can escape." Ethan hesitated, but only for a moment. "No, I'm not leaving you." With a fierce look, Lyra grabbed his arm. "You have to, Ethan. You're the only one who can make it out alive. Go now." Without another word, Ethan turned and ran toward the ship. He didn't know what was waiting for him outside, but as he fired up the engines, the realization hit him. He was leaving the woman who had changed his life. A princess, a fighter, and someone who had no place in a world like his. But he wasn't going to abandon her. Not now. As he ascended into the sky, Lyra's face lingered in his mind, a symbol of hope and rebellion in a universe full of oppression. He didn't know where his journey would take him next, but he knew one thing for certain. He was no longer just a mechanic. He was part of something bigger. And in the far distance, on the planet below, a princess fought to hold her freedom.